Yeah. So, welcome all you old and new listeners to the Agile Matrix podcast. If you're just joining us for the first time, thank you very much. Welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. Now, this is the show where we explore the best practices, the tools, insights, all with the aim to help you excel in the Agile world. So I'm your host, ever excited Tammy, and today we're diving into a topic that is fundamental to the success of any agile team. You wonder what that is? It is the topic of estimation. Yep, you got that right, estimation. So when we're going, this is titled Estimation Done Right. Now, estimation, when done right, it can significantly optimize your value creation and delivery efforts to your stakeholders. In this episode, I'll be sharing not one, not two, not three, not five, but seven actionable tips to help you optimize your estimation practices. So, what am I saying? Whether you are a seasoned agile practitioner or just getting started, or you're stuck in the weeds between estimation or not to estimate, or you're currently estimating but you're not sure exactly how to do it properly, these tips will help you enhance your estimation processes and improve all the work that you do, right? So, you know what I always say? Grab your coffee, grab your pen, grab your paper, get comfortable, and let's jump into estimation done right. You're welcome once again to the Agile Matrix podcast. Thank you very much. So let's start. Let's start at the beginning. Let's define estimation. What exactly is estimation? Because I've heard different people talk about it in different ways, but let's define it exactly. So in the agile world, estimation refers to the process of predicting the amount of effort required to complete a particular story, right? So we are saying how much effort. So in traditional project management, when we do estimation, then we focus on exact time frames and detailed task breakdowns. I'm sure all of you remember those Gantt charts where you say to deliver this, I need to do this. Then you estimate how long that would take, and you do that, estimate how long it would take. That's different. In Agile, our estimation emphasizes flexibility and relative effort. So it's a collaborative process that typically involves the entire team and uses techniques designed to enhance accuracy and, most importantly, adaptability. So that's the main difference. In traditional project management, when we did estimation, it was almost like you had to get it precise. There was a requirement or desire for precision. Whereas in Agile, it's pretty much like how long, for an example, how long is this ball of string? So what we want is a gauge. What's the basic answer we're trying to bring out? So we have two tasks in front of us. We have a limited time frame. Which should we pick, this or that? That's what estimation is trying to get. What should we do? We have a fixed time box, a sprint. It's between a week and 4 weeks. We're looking at these pieces of work that we are thinking of doing. Which one should we take in? Can we estimate that we can finish these within the time frame? Yes or no? Do we think we can? Do you think we can't? We don't have to go into the nth degree. It's an educated guess. In fact, a friend of mine says something that the best estimates are bad guesstimates, right? Okay, so let's progress before I dive too deep in that area. So, estimation in Agile isn't about predicting the exact number of hours or days a task will take. And that's very important. I see the practice today where people try to equate estimates to man hours. So they say if that's it's a 1 day task. No, that is not the aim. That is estimation done wrong. Okay? It's about understanding the relative effort and complexity. Look at those two, effort and complexity. So we use that and we compare one to another. So, and that's what we call relative estimation. That is actually what we do. And you see, this helps teams to prioritize, to manage scope, and also to deliver value incrementally. So the question now that you may be asking is, okay, so Tamia said we don't estimate in hours. And that is correct. You do not. If you have the practice currently of estimating a story point to a time, I'm here to clearly tell you that is estimation being done wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay. So now the question is, how do you get it right? You remember I said I was going to give you 7 tips, right? To help you master relative estimation. So let's jump right into it. So tip number 1, use story points, not hours, right? So what are we saying? Use story points, don't use hours. Story points are a measure of the effort required to complete a story. So you consider things like complexity, risk, uncertainty, effort. So unlike hours, which can vary greatly between team members, story points provide a sort of consistent measure that helps in comparing tasks relative to one another, right? By focusing on effort rather than time, you create a more flexible and accurate estimation process. You see, you don't want estimation to be, so you're in a sprint planning session, for example, it's an hour, and you spend 30 to 40 minutes estimating the work. That is a waste, right? That's what we call over processing. What you want is, okay, this is the story. We've broken down into certain number of tasks. We're happy with the known unknowns and known knowns. We're cool to take the story in. What story points do we assign to it? Okay, so we look at the relative and we say, okay, this is a 1. So we look at this particular story and think, okay, it's about 3 times more complex. The level of uncertainty is about the same. So if that's a 1, this is a 3. And you move on to the next story. It should be something that should be quick. Number 2, leverage planning poker, right? So what are we saying? We're looking at relative estimation, and we said it earlier that estimation is a collaborative effort, right? So when we use planning poker, we're tapping into the collaborative estimation technique, yeah? So team members you can use the deck of cards, there are online applications. I'm sure you are aware of the Fibonacci sequence, where all the numbers add up to each other. So you have 0, you have a 1, you have a 2, you have a 3, you have a 5, 8, 13, 21, infinity, or 20, infinity, right? So we use those, right? So we say here that, you use those deck of cards with values representing story points. Each team member selects a card that reflects their estimate of a story's effort, and everyone reveals their cards simultaneously. So what you do in that practice is this. So this is the story we've discussed, and then everybody has their cards, and at a certain time they reveal their cards. So if, for example, if all of us have said it's a 3, one person has said it's a 5, we accept that okay, there's a 5. It's possible there's something that person is seeing that we're not seeing, or there's something that we are seeing that that person isn't seeing. So we use planning poker so that everyone can have their own individual contribution to the estimation conversation, right? So what are we saying here? Planning poker not only ensures that everyone's voice is heard, but also highlights different perspectives and potential oversights. Can you see what I said? So use planning poker. Then tip number 3, establish a baseline. Now I said a little bit about this in tip number 1, but look at what we say about establishing a baseline. So to make relative estimation effective, your team needs a common reference point. So start by selecting a few well understood stories and then assign them story points. So what people normally do is they find a baseline story to say, okay, looking at level of complexity and the risk and all that, we say this is a 1. So that's what we call it, relative estimation. So we've picked that and we said this is a 1, right? So then we compare any new story to that baseline. So the team uses that to gauge, to go, okay, so that's a 1. This story we're talking about is about twice as complex, twice the amount of effort and all that. So we think it's a 2. Oh, but it's a bit more than 2, but it's not 5 times as much. So that's a 3. Like I said, in traditional project management, there's a quest for perfection, for precision, pinpoint accuracy. When it comes to Agile, we're looking at flexibility. We're not necessarily after pinpoint accuracy. It's a gauge. It's pretty much like, how far do you think it is? How much do you think it is? It's a gauge. Okay? So, like we said, By comparing new tasks to these new baselines, your team can more accurately gauge their relative effort, right? So that's tip number three, establish a baseline. Then tip number four, focus on team consensus. Very important. Estimation should always be a team activity, not an individual activity. And more importantly, it should be done by the people that do the work. You should not have a practice where estimates are prepared by somebody else and is given to the team to go, that is a five, that is a story. If you have that practice currently, that is wrong. Okay? So it should be done by the person doing the work. I'll say that again. Estimates should be given by the people or the person doing the work. And also, estimation should be a team activity, not an individual one. So, what are we saying here? Involve the team in that process, right? Ensure it captures the diverse insights and expertise and experience. You see, I worked in a place where when they're doing estimation, the developers provide a figure, the tester provide a figure, the analyst will provide a figure, and they'll lump that together and say that's the estimate, which is wrong. The team should sit down together, understand what it is to deliver the story, and estimate that, not individual workstations. Okay? So consensus driven estimates tend to be more accurate because they incorporate multiple viewpoints and foster a shared understanding of the work involved. Now, let me just pause here. When we say more accurate, I'm not saying we're looking for precision. No, I should have even corrected that. When we say more accurate, what I'm talking about is more realistic, more encompassing of the diverse complexities of every workstation. That's what I mean. Okay? Then tip number five, regularly reevaluate estimates. Right? Now, in the world of agility, the world of agility is dynamic, right? And as the team progresses, their understanding of the work, the complexity, the context will also evolve. So what are we saying? As the time progresses, also review these things, your estimation practices, your baseline. Does it still hold? Do we know a bit better? That one story, looking at what we know now, is it still a one story? Review it. Everything we are doing, we inspect and adapt. So what are we saying? During your retrospectives or planning meetings, revisit that. Does it still hold true? Adjustments are a natural part of the agile process. And these help, like it helps to keep you on track. It helps to keep you grounded in reality, right? Agility, adaptability, they are the same, right? So we are saying in the same practice, observe it, look at it. Can it be better? Is it spot on? Are we off the mark? Right? Remember, the aim isn't precision, it's just getting better. Okay? Then also, tip number six, we say use velocities to gauge future estimates. What are we saying? Velocity, right? This is the measure of work done by a team or, completed by a team in a sprint, right? So we normally calculate this in story points. Remember, so if the team committed to 50 story points and they deliver 40, for that sprint, their velocity is 40, right? So what are we saying? When you keep looking or you track the team's velocity over time, you are, this is a very good segue. So now in some organizations, they use velocity as a scoring metric. Oh, this team did 50 points. They're a good team. That team did 40. They're not that good a team. If you're currently doing that, you are wrong. That is wrong. You shouldn't do that. Velocity is meant to be for a team. It's a team's own measure based on how the story pointed their stories, based on their understanding of complexity, of the effort required, and the risk and assumptions. Remember, I said there. So it is their estimate. It's like you presenting myself and my friend a bowl of food, and you ask how long it will take us. My time will be different from his time. I might be more voracious than he is. I might be hungry than he is. So it'll be quicker for me. You can't then say he's a slow eater because we are different individuals. Same thing, we're different teams. Let me get back to the point, right? That's a different issue. But okay, so you use velocity as a planning metric, the team by themselves have estimated this number of story points, taking this number of points into the sprint, and they completed a certain number of points. So when you're planning for the next sprint, you use the velocity of the past sprint under the concept of yesterday's weather. You say, okay, if this team completed 40 points last sprint, most likely the same team will complete 40 points in the next sprint. So they use that data to plan, right? So what are we saying? Use velocity to gauge future estimates. Remember, all the estimates of stories and all that we have in the sprint, they're all meant to contribute to the sprint goal. So we are saying use your past performance to gauge what you can achieve in the current sprint that you're planning for. That's tip number 6. Then tip number 7, interesting. Keep it simple and transparent, right? So what are we saying? Avoid overcomplicating the estimation process with too many rules, criteria, and checkpoints and all that. The goal is to make it quick, swift, and with style. To make it quick, yet informed. Decisions about the effort required for these stories. You want to make it quick, right? Transparency is key. So what are we saying? Ensure that the criteria for assigning story points are clear and understood with the team, and also constantly applied unless the team decide to review and change it. Do you understand? But keep it simple and transparent. So this helps to maintain trust within the team and ensures that everyone is on the same page. You don't want team members going, oh, I thought, oh, but we said, isn't it meant to be? You see, then you have an inconsistent process. So do you know what will happen? Is either one of two things. The team struggle through the process or check out. So what are we saying? Keep it simple and transparent. So these are the 7, right? So there you have it. 7 tips to help get your estimation right in your Agile journey. So by using story points, leveraging planning poker, establishing baselines, focusing on team consensus, regularly reevaluating estimates, using velocity, and keeping the process simple and transparent, you can significantly improve the accuracy and effectiveness of your team's estimations. What are we saying? Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Agile Matrix Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, learning how to make or to do estimation right, please share with your colleagues, share with your product owners, with your scrum masters, with Agilists. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Agile Matrix Podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We'd also like to hear feedback from you on any topics that we've covered and even any topics you would like us to cover in the future. Thank you for listening, and until the next time, keep iterating and stay agile.